Ian, now we have a Patreon, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you peruse the various levels and you put the money into the system, and you get stuff in return. You get a writing. I'll probably have one up. You get like a weekly writing from me. Probably have one up in the next day or two. You get the bonus bits at the beginning, the bonus podcasts that we record before we do the main podcast. You get the full video podcast. You get monthly hangouts, which we'll be doing ours this week, Saturday at 10:30 in the morning, PST. And you get to vote on these poll topics. That's one of the better ones I've done. One of the better ones.
It was pretty clean, Ian. Pretty clean. I was waiting for you to screw up the URL like the old days. Second place, 28%. How is gaming on the Jersey Boardwalk different in 2022? Come on, it's the summer. You can't get it for the summer? In first place, are regulations needed to protect paid digital game content from disappearing? 72%.
So this comes on the heels of us hearing that Ubisoft is removing DLC. They're decommissioning online services in September of 22. There's a ton of titles for this. Anno, Assassin's Creed 3. I believe we talked a little bit about this. Driver San Francisco, Ghost Recon Future Soldier. But they're also going to lose the downloadable DLC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So multiplayer will be gone.
Right.
But also for not all, but some of these, DLC will be unavailable.
So you're going to lose if you buy a used copy of this game. You're not going to be able to necessarily experience what is considered the full picture of the game. So, before we get into regulations, and I think Pat has probably some more solid ideas about that than I do at the moment. This is kind of something that to me, there is almost no point now to buying, if this is going to keep happening, there's almost no point in buying a game at release that is going to have DLC. You can buy it, you can download the DLC, you can save it, but if at any point you lose that hard drive, this DLC goes down, you can't access it. You can't finish the game. These Game of the Year collections, on the other hand, that include all the DLC, therefore become a much, much more attractive option. You're literally taking a risk in potentially losing out by supporting the game early. Mm-hmm. And honestly, these Game of the Year collections are almost always, or these complete editions are almost always the same price as the original game when it comes out, and you're getting anywhere from $20 to sometimes $50 worth of DLC on these discs included. But there are even some older Game of the Year editions that didn't have the DLC on the disc. Sure. It was just a key code that would then download the DLC for you from the servers. So not all of these are even, a safe purchase, because you still can't access it. The key doesn't go anywhere.
Sure. So I want to go through some of these here.
Yeah.
So Assassin's Creed 3, the installation and access to the DLC will be unavailable as of September 1st. Multiplayer, most of these games are gone. And in 2070, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 3, the Brotherhood game.
What I would point out, too, is like with PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, I feel like it's kind of understood at some point that this is going to go down. But with PC in particular...
Well, on this list, the DLC for the PS3, Wii U, and 360, it doesn't say anything about the DLC. It just says multiplayer. So it's the opposite. The PC one, you're getting screwed totally, which is...
And you would think the PC one would absolutely be the platform that would receive a lot of support or more support.
Someone that's involved with the server will have to let me know, like, why can't you even access it? Like the ping to check your token locally to make sure you're not pirating it, that's what's going down. Even if I have it installed, I can't play it anymore or have access to whatever's on here. That's nuts to me. Assassin's Creed Liberation HD. I'm not familiar with that. Would that just be like a better version of 3 on
idea.
That? Revelations, unable to play multiplayer. Driver San Francisco. Installation and access to DLC will be unavailable. And there's more. Far Cry 3. These are, by the way, and when we get on this, these are games that are like, some of these games are 10 years old or less. We're not talking 20-year-old game. We're not talking 15-year-old games. Far Cry 3 is only 10 years old. for example.
Sure. As Zeke Dunbar here says on Reddit, basically PC players are about to lose access to DLCs that they bought and owned with Ubisoft games that they own, as well as not be able to access Uplay exclusive weapons, content, and levels of those games. The multiplayer will be shut down as well. Console players won't be able to play multiplayer or access Uplay content, which means no Uplay exclusive guns or stuff like that for Splinter Cell, Blacklist, for Xbox and PC players. It's weird to me that people have just accepted that there is an age for a video game. And at that point, it dies.
Even if you bought it, you bought the extras for it, like that should be it.
I realize a lot of this stuff is not exactly cutting edge or brand new, and that there's probably not a ton of people playing it, but losing access to it, even losing access to online, I can kind of, if I squint real hard,
Yeah, a lot of people are playing it.
Understand.
Yeah.
But losing access to the DLC is bullshit.
Yeah, because that affects your single player.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially if it's levels. If it's weapons, like, yeah, you still pay for them. You still shouldn't lose them. But if it's like extra levels and things like that, and you hope that this wouldn't then trail into bigger DLCs or mission packs for other things at that point. I'm not familiar with all these games to know what's missing from some of these games. I don't know what the DLC to Driver San Francisco is. I guess we can look it up because now I'm actually curious if it is anything besides car that comes with that, because that's a big thing. Oh, okay, it's a big deal. 12 new routes for all online modes. So 12 new
for which game?
For Driver San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
So we're talking that something that could significantly
A massive
change the
chunk
game.
of the game, yeah.
Okay, and that was free. So like that's going to be gone. The free DLC will include 12 new routes. This is from 2011 for all online modes releases. Director's clips, stats, other things. Okay, maybe if they're getting rid of online, it's not a big deal for something like that. But anyway, yeah, it's bad. So Ian, how do you think we should? Is there a way to address this? Regulations, some laws? I can picture Europe tackling this before us. We're behind on everything in the fucking world. But at least for video games, I think we can at least catch up a little bit because they're way ahead when it comes to loot boxes and things like that. So do you think they would set some laws at least in Europe?
I think they could. And I mean, I don't know what the statute would be or how long. I also think if these games are going down, there should be a final patch that allows you to access that content, to download it before it goes away.
Download it. It's on your local. No checking a server to make sure you have it, or make it free to everyone.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
well,
yeah,
sure. That's kind of what I mean. If you own the game, do a final update that kind of includes all that.
It gives you everything that ever came out for the game. We're talking about 10 years later, so if you bought it early on, it's like, it's 10
and you're not losing money because, I mean, you're removing it from the storefront anyway, so do your customers a solid and give them a not a hard copy, but let them get that data onto their computer so they can preserve it and they have it for their own use.
Get all the DLC that was ever available. At some point, we were saying, or decommission it. All right, you have whatever. You have 2 months, 3 months to download it all for free. Figure out a way to do it, Ubisoft. It's not like you're not making money. You're a huge company.
Yeah.
You had a freaking movie about one of your games, for God's sake. Did they ever do more of those movies? No. This is the first one. Do that. Make it available for a certain amount of time. Figure out how. I don't want to hear... I love people that are involved with these industries about, hey, Pat, you don't know the cost for this? I don't fucking care. A company like Ubisoft has the money. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it the fuck out.
Do it.
I'm sorry for cursing. In South Carolina, people are saying, yeah, sometimes you're cursing too much. And I'm like, sometimes we don't at all. Sometimes the Jersey comes out. The Northeast comes out of us. When it comes
Can people stop trying to fucking tone police us?
Oh, no, it's not. It was in jest.
Okay.
But, yeah, sorry. Well, it's really about swear policing.
Swear policing, whatever.
But anyway, so figure it out. If a law has to be passed, this is how I'd see the law going. And this would be, I don't know, controversial or not. I would think that there would have to be a requirement, maybe not for every single small company, for a huge company, though, companies that are like publicly traded, where they'd have to put aside a certain amount of revenue for each game in order for like let's say a preservation sort of fund.
Sure.
Knowing that this will be a problem down the road, or that's set aside, so when this stuff happens, we can figure it out. We can figure out the server costs, and there's no fucking excuse at that point. You make $50 million off a game. You got to set aside, I don't know, $300,000 just to figure out these problems 12, 15 years later. And it's put in escrow, and then you can't touch it.
Sure.
The company can't touch it when it comes to this.
I actually don't feel like that's a horrible idea.
It's not killing your profits.
Yeah.
It's not. And the goodwill that it would do for EA doing this and companies like Ubisoft or whoever else, I think it would go a long way. And like I said, I don't know the costs. Then put aside some money. Have that budgeted in somehow.
Yeah, work it into the budget.
Work it in.
Reframe the problem. Don't say it's going to cost so much money to keep this up. Make it part of the budget.
Work it into your budget. You want to raise games $10 because inflation? I get that. Or whatever. To $70. I think that if you had out front knowing, hey, games are going up, but guess what? We're going to put in 1% or whatever, 0.5%, whatever it would cost into this potential problem. I think the vast majority of gamers will be understanding about that. They realize it's not free to do all this stuff. We just don't know what the costs are. Explain the costs to us. Tell us what they are. Tell us what the obstacles are in place and what will be needed to remedy that. Like, meet us like a quarter of the way. That's all. Otherwise, what you do is you encourage piracy more, and you encourage people to not support your products at all up front.
If you want to avoid piracy, a good way to do that would be to, I don't know, help your fucking consumers.
Yeah. Because we're talking, again, 10-year-old games. Sometimes less. 6 years, it's gone. 5 years, whatever, we're taking it offline. The multiplayer, then we'll see. Yeah, it's just not good. It's not good, Ian.
Nope.
All right, is that enough? Should I run for Congress to make this happen?
That's enough.
I saw a comment. It might have been Toy, who we love, about like, could people in Europe, could they take care of this? They're worried about other stuff. It's like, yeah, you can pass laws about multiple things while you're doing other things. You can take care of it. In the U.S., it is kind of scary though, because lobbyists have so much power, and who's going to lobby for this? Like, who's going to lobby for it here to do it? I don't know. But hey, in Europe, they just passed. It's going to affect Apple. The USB-C is going to be the cord, the universal charging cord for everything going forward.
Yeah,
because it's a great cord. It's one cord, and then we don't have to worry about all these different ports and different cords and all this shit. And you can even pass HDMI through it. So there's the European Union saying, you know what, this is good for consumers. It's actually good for the industry. The only people it really hurts are people that want proprietary cables like Apple or other companies, because they make money off of those and charge you $20. Now this is good. You don't need to fiddle around with 1,000 fucking cables. We can't make that happen, but Europe can do this stuff. Like we should be able to, but if they do a law of protecting DLC, I would hope that it would come by osmosis across the ocean to us. I hope.